I have tried to tune my mind, intention with a right kind of direction, that whatever I'm going to sort of briefly share with you is going to be beneficial for not just a temporary satisfaction, but that somehow this will, one way or another, lead to awakening of all of us. For those of who you are familiar with generally Buddhist procedures, especially Mahayana tradition, you should also, I should encourage you to generate the similar motivation to listen to this. Motivation is such an important motivation and the attitude. You could come here and listen to these verses with the intention of just to gather some information about Buddhism, so-called Buddhism, etc. Or you can come here to listen to, what is it that the bodhisattvas aspire, and that you will also apply these. These kind of motivations will definitely influence the way you listen and hear, and eventually even how you apply it to your life. I'm very happy that I'm doing this particular text. This is a classic, very classic Buddhist text. Among many other reasons why I'm happy, one of them is I really want to, especially for those who are new to Buddhism, I want you to know that I want you to know the richness and the depth and the sort of the progressiveness of Buddhism, even from the day of ancient classical Buddhist period. But I have to tell you that for sure I'm not going to do a good job in going through all the stanzas. That's just, not only is impossible just because we don't have time, but primarily myself, I don't have the capacity to encapsulate everything. And I like to believe that you will try to have the capacity to listen. This is a Mahayana text. This comes as a last section of what the sutra known as the Avatamsaka Sutra, one of the most important and most elaborated texts in Mahayana Buddhism. This is, by the way, translated quite nicely, so you can read it in English, and well, this is one of the most venerated sutra in China, in the ancient Chinese history. So definitely there's a lot of Chinese translation. Now, and I think, hopefully, I hope, this will give you a little bit of a demonstration of why we have names such as Mahayana. Because the word Mahayana, the term Mahayana, I think for a lot of people maybe they think it's just a school, it's like a tradition that flourished in Japan, Korea, Tibet, Bhutan, Himalayan, sort of region, China, which is true, but it's much more than that. Now I have to tell you this, the word Hinayana probably is Mahayana chauvinist word. So I don't know whether this actually exists. When the Tibetan or Mahayana Buddhists talk about Hinayana sometimes, they are referring to what we should be calling Sharvakayana or probably Theravada. And I think the word Hinayana is a little bit misleading because a lot of people seem to have this attitude that the Hinayana is some sort of a lesser sort of school, which is actually not really true. Anyway, let's just explore a little bit about what makes something Mahayana. And throughout these stanzas, you will realize, hopefully you will have a little taste on what we mean by Mahayana. Just briefly, I will give you a few demonstrations from the text. For instance, there is a section where we do what we call confession. Confession, the English word is not really doing the justice. It's not really the direct proper translation for word shakpa. I don't think so, but let's just use it for now. So there is a section of confession. And if you pay attention, you will realize we are not only confessing the misdeeds and the non-virtue of the past and the present, but you are also confessing the misdeeds and the non-virtue of the future. See, this is how Mahayana look at the world. Now, this is nothing to do like preempting your non-virtue before it even arrives. In the Mahayana, they don't really believe that the time truly exists or time independently exists. So it is based on that you will have this kind of what do you call it? This kind of phenomena, or the world basically is in every level of this sutra. So also, where did this sutra, where was it taught? This is a very difficult question, because as you read the Avatamsaka Sutra, it begins somewhere like, under the Bodhi tree, let's say. But then you will realize that somewhere in the middle, the teaching is happening in the Tushita heaven. Supposedly, Buddha have never left the Vajra seat under the Bodhi tree. So this is another demonstration of how space is also dealt with a Mahayana attitude.
It's also what, sorry?
Space is dealt. Like I already talked about how the time is not really independently there, but even the space. You are here, but you are also somewhere else, but you have never left here. Basically what I'm saying is, if you want to hear Mahayana teachings, you need to really try to go beyond the way you think normally. If you insist on keeping intact all the way you think now, chances of you understanding this kind of Mahayana Sutra is very, very slim. When we read the sutra, as some of you may have, and you can read it later if you want, First, about 200 pages is the list of some of the sort of the disciples, but sort of the remarkable or significant disciples, let's call them. When I used to read this sutra, about 180 pages, I just skip. I don't even read them. It's just, it's just names. But recently, the way I approach, you see, this is a thing. Even though I was myself born in a Buddhist family, Mahayana family actually, we take things for granted too much. So I never really managed to appreciate the sutra. But only recently, I was beginning to pay some attention to the list of these people. And they are so important. Because there you see, you notice all kinds of beings. I guess we would now call them alien. One of my very close friends, he died a few years ago. He used to teach in San Francisco, University of California, Santa Cruz. He used to say that reading Avatamsaka Sutra is like better than, 100 times better than watching the full episode of Star Wars. Actually, this special attention to the disciples actually came after I visited a cave in China, Dunhuang. They have done a good job in depicting some of these in painting. And now when I read this, it's just fascinating because there are disciples who are just a mist or a breeze or a half human, half snake or horse head but human body. Of course, one can always think these are all like fantastical level. But this is such an important element that we should make note. Because even here, like myself, a deluded being, talking to several hundred of people, yes, of course, you are not a mist. I don't think so. Some of you are probably robot, who knows. But you all have different way of understanding. How you understand my words, how you hear my words are going to be different. But you see, I said earlier, I don't have the capacity to, make all of you to understand how I want you to understand. I will just have to let you understand however you want to understand. But in the Avatamsaka Sutra, one realized that Buddha and his disciples, bodhisattvas, like a Manjushri, has this amazing way to teach is maybe not the right word, but anyway, way to make the people understand how they want things to be understood. By the way, this sutra is very big. Even just one part of the sutra could easily be a very big, normal standard sutra. Manjushri plays an important role in here. So, again here, even though tribute or credit is given to the Buddha, Shakyamuni, as the supreme teacher, the actual sort of action of teaching can happen through many different bodhisattvas, such as Manjushri. There is one section called, I guess, loosely translated, but Dongboke Bindo, stem area, something like that. Like a stem of a tree. And sort of a layers or like properly arrayed, stem arrayed. And that one also has something like 53 chapters. I need to tell you a bit of that because this particular aspiration is part of it. So there's this bodhisattva, very, very, diligent, kind, compassionate, brave. Again, I'm not doing the justice. Whenever we introduce a character, we have like almost a whole page that describing this bodhisattva, such as brave, the diligent, the loving, the kind, the compassionate. So this bodhisattva, whose name is Manibhadra, he was also known. He was known very wealthy, and in China, he was also worshipped separately because he is also sort of referred as a wealth deity. But a big part of this sutra is about this man. He meets Manjushri, and Manjushri teaches him this and that. And Manjushri says, okay, now I've finished for now. There is another great teacher somewhere from here to, like distant, like 500, miles and 500 mountains beyond, 500 valleys beyond. The classic, Indian sort of construction of, like narration. And there, this incredible master, you must go and learn from him. Manibhadra will obey Manjushri and he will go through all the hassles, all the penance and in search for this master. He will encounter this master with a lot of difficulties. He will learn from this master, and this master will teach him for years and years and years. And then finally one day he will say, okay, I've finished. You should now go to another place. So basically, 52 masters sending Manibhadra to different masters. And some of them are quite amazing because some of the masters, the Manibhadra has to wait next to the ocean, this incredible vast ocean, and wait and gaze at the ocean. And then the master will slowly come on the surface. And each masters will have a very specific teachings, by the way. One of the masters is a prostitute. And the only way, so to speak, to receive teachings from this master is Manibhadra becoming the customer. And this is the thing. You see, didn't I tell you, Mahayana, mind-boggling stuff. You cannot think in our normal thinking. If you think like that, then you see, usually we have this idea of master, someone serene, someone morally, perfect, all of that, the whole procedure, but it's not like that. There are a few of my favorite masters. One of them is the perfume seller, and it's all about smell. And I think Western scholars even refer this sutra as the sutra of a perfect description of wealth. And I think it's kind of makes sense that he described that way. Because some of the wealth and the wealth that is described in the sutra is like so beyond, like out there. Like 1,000 different diamond, 1,000 different turquoise, 1,000 different emerald, steps made out of this, 1,000 different emerald, railings made out of different kinds of diamond. Like the gold is like very, very like not even secondary. One of my own favorite, personal favorite, is Mahayana is sent again by, I don't remember, I think it's the 48th master to another master. And usually when that master sent Mahayana, they will always have a perfect description how to go, which mountain to pass, which valley to cross, all of that. And I think it's the 48th. I don't know, you'll have to find out. Anyway, this master said, okay, you have to go to a beach, sandy beach. And there's this incredible, compassionate, omnipotent, omniscient, adorned with the kayas, the jhanas, the Lord of the Paramita, the great master. And you will find him playing among hundreds of kids. And he himself is, I think, 8 years old kid. And of course, the Mahayana, years after years, he will go and look for this master. Finally, one day, he finds in the sandy beach, kids playing in the sand. And then there's like full descriptions about how Mahayana ran to this special kid and like fall on the ground and prostrate and held this kid's feet, and I've been all over the place looking for you. And the normal conversation of who sent you, and then the earlier bodhisattva. Anyway, the subject of this kid's teaching is so good. It's my favorite. It's numbers. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. But what is so amazing is for us, after about 1 trillion, we are finished. But the kid has so many, about 14 pages. After about the 10th page, the numbers basically sound like a baby talking. And then there you realize the bodhisattva is making fun of mathematics. You realize that 1 and the trillion and the 1,000 is just an illusion. Anyway, finally, I think 51st, Bodhisattva sent Mahayana to the 52nd. And that teacher is Samantabhadra. Not to be confused with the Samantabhadra that you find in the Nyingma tradition, the Buddha Samantabhadra. This is Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. Each bodhisattvas have their own of course they are omnipotent, they are omniscient, they are all just perfect. But they each have their own kind of speciality, so to speak. Manjushri, wisdom, Avalokiteshvara, compassion, Akasha Garbha for confession, Kishti Garbha for wealth. It depends with the difference, but mainly wealth. But the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra specializes in aspiration. And this is so beautiful because after all these 2,000 pages of the sutra, we come to a conclusion that the best thing you can do is aspiration. Before we even reach to this, there is a talk about the shunyata, the paramitas, all those high philosophy stuff. We boil down everything to aspiration. And Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, supposedly when he was, not accomplished yet, supposedly all the bodhisattvas, when they were just beginning their steps, they have their own aspiration. Like a Manjushri have aspired that whoever heard his name in the future, that they will have a wisdom. And whoever hears the name of the Avalokiteshvara, that they will have the compassion. And then whoever associates with the Samantabhadra, their aspiration will be accomplished. Anyway, Manibhadra, our hero, finally ends his tour of eons after eons to the with the Samantabhadra. So this is why Pranidhana Raja, Pava Zangbochebi Manam, sort of this Manamji Jebo, it's the king of all the aspiration. Anyway, briefly, aspiration for the beginners like us, aspiration is perhaps the best and the most risk-free, most user-friendly, if you like, practice. So even, let's say, shamatha meditation, actually doing the shamatha meditation, like concentrating on the breathing, concentrating on your, sensation, that versus aspiring to concentrate on the breathing. Samantabhadra here is saying aspire. Because if you keep on aspiring, chances of you doing actually is higher. Same thing, shunyata, emptiness, for us, forget it, it's a joke. We can talk about it, think about it, read about it for days and lifetime, but it's not going to do much. But long for it, aspire for it. Because when you aspire, it has a lot of good elements. When you aspire, at the least, you are admitting you don't know, which is humility. And the humility, that is the worst news for the ego. And the ego is the one that cements the samsara. So there's just so many incredible power. And so today we will begin. Now I can't go through every stanza, but I will go roughly. So I will begin actually from the benefit of the aspiration. So it's somewhere towards the end. 야, 강양 추주시는 타입을 이제 자원하는 발하담이 디비전 신기딩이 까바표 강경 오이제부 대통령 장주 초기지서 라메시 렌지스면 대바체번 소놈담비 초도 디지로. Anyway, okay. So Samantabhadra himself, this is his statement. If somebody makes offerings of jewel garland to all the Buddhas of the past, present, and the future, of course you have a lot of merit. But that merit is nothing compared to if you even hear this aspiration. And then upon hearing this aspiration, you actually have a sort of inkling or some sort of attraction towards the bodhisattva path. This has much more merit. Okay, from one angle, you may think that, oh, this is because the aspiration is so powerful, specifically this aspiration. You can understand it that way, but you can do even better. The reason why just hearing this and having some sort of a admiration towards the bodhisattva path is much more meritorious than actually meeting thousands of Buddhas and giving them jewels, is because the contents of the aspiration is so, like not ordinary. Anyway, let's just go through the benefit very roughly first. Those who does this, those who have admiration towards this aspiration and actually does this aspiration, they will abandon all the non-virtuous realm. They will stay away from non-virtuous friend. They will soon encounter the boundless light Buddha, Amitabha. Even in this relative life, they will encounter fortune, longevity, success, and etc. This person will also become like the Samantabhadra bodhisattva. Even very hideous non-virtue that we may have accumulated in our past, present, and the future life, by just uttering the words of this aspiration, they will be quickly purified. They will be adorned, soon they will be adorned with wisdom. They will also obtain the infinite form. They will also obtain the appropriate presence, like a color, the shape. We will, if we have time, I will go through this a little bit later, but just roughly first. The one who dwells in this aspiration will not be defeated by those who are possessed by extreme view. The one who does this aspiration will be revered by all the three realms.
Revered by?
Revered by three realms, beings of the three realms. Soon, this being will enter beneath the Bodhi tree, meaning he will soon be enlightened. After achieving enlightenment, this being will turn the will of the Dharma and defeat infinite numbers of demons of emotions. Never doubt bodhisattva path. Okay, so these are sort of very brief benefit of doing this aspiration. And as I said, I will come back to why it is so powerful a little bit later. But first, let's actually now go to the, I will begin right from the top. So it begins with what we call 7 limb practices. So in order to make your aspiration, in order to make your aspiration powerful, or in order to actually even have the ability to aspire, we have few preparations. Because these are sort of easier paths, so I'm going to just again very quickly go through. So in order to create this ability, we try to accumulate merit by doing these 7 limb practices. The first one is prostrations to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 3 times and all the directions. To them, we offer our prostrations of body, mind, and speech. And even the gesture of prostration, as it is stated here, we manifest our body into billions. These are such a Mahayana way of thinking. Like we always talk about going out of the box. So here, as you can see, even the prostration, the one who does the prostration becomes billions. And to whom we prostrate? Buddhas of the past, Buddhas of the present, and even those Buddhas who have not yet become Buddha, the future Buddhas. See, here already, sort of ordinary concept of time is already broken, even when we are doing the prostration. So earlier I was talking about Mahayana flavor. The why we use the word Maha Mahayana, Maha, the great vehicle. We are talking about grand attitude, grand view. And when we say grand, we are talking about not being constricted to this now or just one me, one unit. Having this ability to break through concepts such as, oh, I cannot prostrate to the future Buddha because he hasn't even arrived. Then on the third stanza, actually it's described even more. On the top of one atom, or sort of a very small particle, there are, like quantity of atoms that exists on earth. How many? Billions and billions. And that much Buddhas exist on each atom. And they are each surrounded by their retinues, the bodhisattvas. To all these Buddhas and bodhisattvas, we praise, we prostrate with songs, music, and tunes and expressions. And then, next, making offerings of all kind, imaginable things like flower, music or incense, lamps, food of all kind. These offerings we make to all the Tathagatas. In the presence of all these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, we confess all our misdeeds that are motivated by desire, anger, and ignorance, that we have accumulated through our body, speech, and mind. We confess them in front of these Tathagatas. And then, in the presence of the Tathagatas, we will rejoice to all the enlightened and ordinary virtue of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas, and his followers, the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. And also rejoice the virtue of all the beings. To all these Tathagatas, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, I beseech them to turn the will of the Dharma, in other words, to teach. For those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who wish to pass into the parinirvana, I request them to remain in this samsara in order to turn the will of the Dharma. And all these merit, that which I have just accumulated through prostrations, offerings, and so on, I dedicate this to awakening of all sentient beings. Okay, so this is basically setting up for the aspiration. Okay, we will take a short break, and then we will enter to the main body of the aspiration, which needs kind of a more philosophical discussion. So now to talk about the aspiration. What is it? What makes the Mahayana aspiration unique? So this is something that we will first discuss, and then I think once you have the sort of general idea of that, then I think the stanzas, if you follow the stanzas, it will make some sense. For instance, there are words like, may all sentient beings be free from illness. But of course, you can just interpret this illness as in, the usual illness that we talk, like physical illness, mental illness, so forth. By the way, this prayer has lots of commentaries. both in India and later in Tibet also. And that's, yeah. So I have been using different commentaries, and some of the shlokas, stanzas, can be quite dense, so we need commentary. Anyway, talking about illness, here illness is actually not only referring to like physical and mental illness, and we are talking about the illness of falling into extreme. Okay, I think we should go even beyond this before we discuss this. We are talking about an aspiration, and as we aspire, let's use the word pray. As we pray for something, whatever you are praying has to have some sort of a base on which you can trust that this prayer will work. All the other prayers, according to this, according to Pranidhana Raja, is a relative prayer, such as prayer for, long life. You can do that, prayer for long life. There are a lot of Buddhist prayers, including here. You can do prayer for longevity. But that prayer is only conventional.
It's only?
Conventional prayer. Because it's very subjective. For instance, first of all, what do we mean by long? Long can be 1 minute. That can be very long. And and then also, just because you live long does not necessarily mean it's good. Many times it's better you live short, if not for yourself, maybe for others. So you know what I mean? Maybe be prosperous. The same thing, everything.
Sure.
May we be successful. All these are very subjective. And by the way, it's not that like we are shunning them. We do, you can still do. You can still do these prayers. But if you forget the actual sort of the ultimate aspiration, if you like, then just the relative aspiration will not lead you anywhere. An aspiration, to make the aspiration perfect, it should come to a fruition, perfect fruition of the aspiration. It should give you the result. So according to the Mahayana, there's only one aspiration that actually makes sense, and then that actually will give you the result according to your aspiration. So, for instance, aspiration, may I be free from ignorance. That aspiration is worthy. It is achievable. Much, much more than long life. Because long life, how long do you want to live? 1,000 years? So this is how the Mahayana think. So, purifying defilement, aspiring to purify the defilement is achievable, and it is true to the fact. So for instance, may all become Buddha. That's a good one. May all become Buddhist. Not necessarily good thing too, and not necessarily achievable also. And what do we mean by being Buddhist anyway? Too much problem in this case. But may all be Buddha, the awakened. This is doable. Yeah, so some of these elements I need to express before we go through this. Okay, the reason why this kind of aspiration, may we all be enlightened, may I be free from ignorance. Why this is achievable is because the ignorance, defilement is not your true nature. So of course we are talking about what we call Buddha nature. So this is a kind of a very important element of the aspiration. So we'll come back to this, but let's just make a note of that, because this is a very important aspect of the aspiration. Now related to this, similar to this, is the non-duality. That is, again, another important. Okay, so as a Buddhist, especially as a Mahayana Buddhist, they have this, may all be enlightened. Immediately you may think, now that is going to take eons. So many eons. And what do we mean by all? What do we mean by all? Yeah, these are something that we need to think in terms of Mahayana interpretation. This is where I like that kid, the 8 years old boy. He taught us that, and actually he says, what is one? You know, after all that, he said, what is one? 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, no difference. All these are illusory, all these are imputed by habitual patterns. This element you need to know. So, for a Mahayana student, to think may all become awakened, enlightened, is much more doable than may the world have peace. That's not possible. World peace, not possible. Everybody enlightened, very possible, easy. I'm just giving you the Mahayana elements, okay? In order to appreciate this is the king of the aspiration. So what makes this king is these elements. So I think I've already covered the quality earlier, that we are by nature not stained by defilement. Therefore, you can aspire to be free from defilement. It will bear fruit. And then I just told you about the quantity. One sentient being, may he or she be enlightened. May all be enlightened. You don't have to be too frightened by using the word like all. But also, you should not take for granted when you think about only one sentient being to be enlightened. So not to be taken for granted just because there's only one, but not to be too freaked out if you say all sentient beings. Because one sentient being is enough. They're a complete pain in the neck. But, so then duration, again, are momentary and eons. And I think I've said this, I'm sure many of you have heard this, me saying this, but for the newer ones, I'll repeat here. So in the Mahayana Sutras, you hear statements like eons, 3 countless eons. Actually, I think it's also in that one of the 52 gurus, I think it talks about, yes, duration, eons and minute and momentary and all that, month, day and night, all that. So, what is countless eons? And what is one moment? And then there's extensive explanations in the Mahayana Shastras. There's this analogy of bird. I'm forgetting all these analogies now. A bird flying over a Mount Meru, very big mountain, let's say Mount Everest, and touching the Mount Everest with his wing, every 100 years he touches once. Then each time the wing is touched, then a little bit of mountain gets eroded, right, like worn out. So let's just imagine every 100 years this bird touches this Mount Everest, and then finally the mountain actually becomes flat. All this time is, according to Mahayana, is one moment. So it's like that. So basically, again, Mahayana's way of it's a Mahayana's attitude towards the world, basically. Mahayana really looks at the world a different way. That is very Mahayana. They don't look at the world in certain, sort of box, like east, west, right, left, men, women. They don't look at like that. But they will still comply with all these, what they call game, play, but they're not stuck with it. Okay, so this is the sort of the ingredient, if you like, of the Mahayana aspiration. Yeah, I'm sure many of you, those who have received Mahayana teachings in the past, you are quite familiar with this. Like even the scientists, to the certain extent, they say time is relative, but they never seem to have a practical practice. Okay, since time is relative, let's do this, let's do that. They don't really, for instance, so I always find this little interesting when they say that time is relative, but at the same time they have difficulty in accepting next life. If the time is relative, next, previous, all means like a game. These are very clearly explained in the Mahayana Sutras. Like there's extensive, like how the cause and condition also, functions. Okay, so this is important. As part of the aspiration, I need to explain this to you. So many of you come to me and say, Rinpoche, can you please pray for my son who is about to go for a final examination? And from the scientific point of view, you can cheat your exam like that? Like not study at all, and then someone actually do the puja, and then you pass. I guess most of the scientists, they may not really accept it. But you see, this is the great thing about the Mahayana. Mahayana never, they are probably, you will never find least superstitious like Mahayana. They are they don't have superstition, yet they accept all the superstitious thoughts. They don't have superstition because they are the follower of Prajna Paramita. Gate, paragate, parasamgate, gone beyond and gone. They've gone beyond all the path. There's no room for superstition. But then they believe in a magical game of cause and condition. So again, I'm extracting this from the commentaries. You will not find it in the actual aspiration because, aspiration, when you are doing the actual aspiration, you are not supposed to be going through all this academic, academic research. You are just supposedly just wholeheartedly do it. So, for instance, if I'm chewing something sour, those of you who knows what is sour will have a saliva in your mouth. See how the cause and condition works? It doesn't mean that my thing that I'm chewing suddenly went in your mouth. Those who don't know anything about this thing, like for instance this, if I'm chewing this, like, see, I'm sure you are thinking something, oh, that's poisonous. I hope whoever is selling this hasn't smoked too much pot. But anyway, basically what I'm saying is, cause and condition. You know, as I'm chewing this, I'm sure some of you who have never chewed this, you have a wandering mind. This is how it works, cause and condition. For somebody who knows nothing about sour or nothing about this, nothing happened, actually, nothing happened. So in this case, the cause and condition functions in a different way. It's called nothing happened, cause and condition. So there is an extensive study about this. Okay, here we're talking about the past life and the next. Okay, because I need to talk about past life and the future life, because when we talk about aspiration, we are always talking about continuity also, right? I aspire that I will become this, this, this. And then you have this incredible magical thing called continuity. It's very magical, because if you decipher, it doesn't make sense. You could commit a crime today, and tomorrow police catches you, and you go to the court. You cannot tell the judge, yesterday's me is different. Even in the mundane, scientific, modern world, you are still a criminal. There is a continuity here, right? These are what we call cause, condition, and effect. It plays a very important role in the act of aspiration. So going back to, me praying for your children's examination, it works wonderfully, sometimes. I say sometimes because while I do the prayer, I may be distracted. It also is possible that between this child and me, I don't have much of a karma. Remember the one who doesn't know the flower and the sour? Nothing happened, cause and condition? So nothing really happens, so he will fail. Or he will pass, but it's got nothing to do with me. But the parents will be better off thanking me anyway, because that is their good cause and condition. Now, when the parents thank me for passing, the successful prayer, if I get so pompous about my prayer, I'm creating a very strange cause and condition. In my next life, or in later my life, no matter what I say, people will either not hear or misinterpret all the time. Not necessarily like that, I'm just giving you an example. Okay, so many examples, like between two candles, one lit, the other one not lit, but you use the first one to lit the second one. Now, what happened here? Did the first one's fire sort of went into the second one, so on and so forth. And I think I like this example better. What is it? Khatun Mame Melongja. Teaching. Okay, so let's say I'm teaching you language. I'm teaching you, I don't know, some obscure language. And then you learn. What happened there? Has the language from me sort of went inside you? Kind of yes and no, both, right? So this is how the aspiration. So this is why us, single person, praying for the sake of all sentient beings also works. So, what I'm saying is you should not think that nobody's paying me to do this. I'm not getting paid for this, like when you do the aspiration for all sentient beings. You should not think that they're getting a free loading, You should not be really assuming that they should appreciate you. On top of that, actually the bodhisattva is supposed to actually appreciate all sentient beings for giving you the chance to do the aspiration. Okay, so now again, let's go back. Quality, remember the shunyata? quantity also I talked about this. So there's all that non-duality, and at the same time I also talked about this magical order of cause and condition and effect. And that's how the aspiration works, so to speak. I don't know. We are talking about impact or the effect of the aspiration. It is coming here. Through this aspiration, you will defeat the four maras. Now that is a big claim, you know. But if you pay some attention to some of the aspects which I just told you, it's actually, very acceptable, because you are starting your aspiration with a different motivation and different attitude, different way of looking at the world. Confidence. We are talking about a confidence. It's aspirable, so to speak. It's an achievable task. Actually, according to the bodhisattvas, even as you begun the aspiration, you have already succeeded it. You don't have to go, after each week, you don't have to refer to an index, how many people got enlightened because of you. I think for now this is good enough, so then we will just do a few stanzas and then we will come back to this, because this is important aspect of the aspiration. This Devi Sanje Namda Choju Jitentana Kaju Choju. This is the incredible thing about these sutras. They're so profound and deep, but also very beautifully sort of expressed, like very poetic. It already begins with, may the Buddhas, may the Tathagatas, all the Tathagatas that exist in the past, that is existing now, that is existing in the future, may they always, not may they always, it's like, they are being offered with all the offering objects. Just this two lines says a lot. Us Buddhists, we have a shrine, some of us. Then we make a lamp offering. You forget for a week. And then you think, oh, I'm sorry, Buddha. You are treating Buddha as somebody who feels left out. It's here, this is addressing this issue. They're always being offered. Not only the present Buddha that is sitting on the shrine, but the past Buddhas, the future. The offering is always there, whether you are paying attention or not, basically. It's just always there. See, these are some of the most beautiful attitude, Mahayana attitude. Now you can see why they have the name Maha. Tekpa Maha, This is how they think. They don't have the poverty mentality. Oh, I forgot 1 week. They don't have that. They don't feel they need to apologize. This is a very important one, actually. Non-apology, they don't, because if you feel that you need to apologize, you are not thinking like a Mahayana. I'm, of course, just summarizing most of these stanzas, so. Then comes the aspiration to perfect the Buddha field. Everywhere. Not like somewhere in the east or west or just just everywhere is the Buddha field. Yeah. But then time to time, there's expressions like Jangchu Shimang Tungshe Javadan Sanche Sejir of the Kamarisho may the Bodhi tree be filled by endless, Tathagatas and their retinue, bodhisattvas. So there's always this sort of very ultimate sort of everything is perfect, but then suddenly we will also have may it become perfect, may there be a lot of Buddhas and bodhisattvas. This is again very kind of a very unique Mahayana way of talking. May the sentient beings of the 10 directions, may they be free from all the illness. May all these beings, may their hope and pursuit be fulfilled according to the Dharma. This is a big one. Basically, no matter what you do, may it one way or another lead you to the benefit of sentient beings. So that there is nothing that is what we call mundane, ordinary activity. You want to take a nap? You take a nap. May this power of nap, may it somehow, one way or another, lead you to enlightening sentient beings. The most mundane activities. Of course, the mundane activities, even the seemingly non-virtuous activities, may they, one way or another, bring you to awakening sentient beings. This may not happen right away, but this can happen in the future. There's a very famous, there's a very, very famous account of a Lama from a Drupakaji tradition. A previous life of a Tsogni Rinpoche. I think previous. He was just, in eastern Tibet, there are a lot of, like we call it chakpa, meaning gangsters. Usually they rob poor pilgrims who goes to Lhasa, but they also rob like horses, yachts, And this boy, he was just an ordinary boy. Tsogni was not just an ordinary boy. And, he was part of a gangster group. And he just, because he was so young, the big gangsters, they appoint him job of, after they rob the horses need to be sort of driven to another part of the valley. So that's his job. And one time the group managed to rob a flock of horses, and after the big gangsters, they rob the horse. He's like taking the horses away to another valley, and there's one horse that's like dragging, not running quick, and he got so nervous because the owners could also catch them and kill them, kill the gangsters. So he got so angry and he slashed the horse's stomach, this one horse that's dragging. And then from the stomach come the small horse, the baby horse. And that very moment, the mother horse immediately licked the baby horse like instinct. And that sight of the mother horse licking the baby horse just made him think that like how, like even an animal are compassionate like this, loving like this. Then he broke his gun, he broke his knife, and then he left his gang life, gangster's life, and become the great, practitioner called Tsongyi. These are important for you to hear because, you see, this is how the Mahayana think. They never think there's one particular action in you that is always evil and bad. All actions, if you have the right aspiration, can lead you to something good. Except the wrong view and maybe harmful thoughts. Like one of the 80 Mahasiddha was a pathological liar. He just can't help. He just has to tell lies. And he knows this is not right. He gets so depressed after each lying session. He gets so depressed. And he really wanted to kill himself. Then he heard there's this great Mahasiddha around. I forgot the name of that Mahasiddha. And this great Mahasiddha knew he was about to kill himself. This Mahasiddha came and said, "What are you doing?" Well, he explained everything, I just can't help myself lying, and then each time after I lie, I feel like killing myself. And this Mahasiddha said, "Oh, you are totally wrong. You have been doing the right thing." The man got shocked. "What do you mean?" So they had some conversation, and then this guy suddenly realized this is a great Mahasiddha. He quickly bowed down and said, "Please, take me as your disciple. I will really vow in front of you never to lie." The master said, "Well, in that case, you are not my disciple." Then he said, "What do you mean?" He said, I want you to lie." The man said, "Really? Of course." So then, he followed the master something like 12 years, lying everywhere. Can't remember the whole story, but anyway, one day just before the Mahasiddha, the teacher, the master Mahasiddha was about to sort of pass into the parinirvana, he summoned all his disciples. He told them, "This is the only man who is telling the truth on this earth." Yeah, so like that, they are just I'm telling you these things because Mahayana aspiration is, you have to have a different take on Mahayana aspiration. It's not limited. It's very vast. Then the next one is Dzongsar temperature. The Buddhist, this is a good one. May I always be sad. Yeah, to put it in a very layperson's language, it is this. I think the sadness makes the human beings more human, If you are like a frog or a spider, I don't think they have that much of a sadness. They're busy. When you are busy, you are not sad. They are always afraid that somebody will eat them. And also gods, they are not sad because they are all distracted. They are all stoned. They have all these shops that sells very stuff without needing to, be afraid of police. Anyway, they are all stoned. Human beings, on the other hand, is... But here we are talking about much important sadness. Basically, may I always remember my life. This actually reminds me of a beautiful love song by Sixth Dalai Lama. It's a beautiful... Sixth Dalai Lama had a kind of a challenging time. He got sort of abducted by, different politicians as a prisoner. And one time he got again arrested, and he was being delivered to, I don't know which warlord arrested him. Maybe the Mongol, or I don't know. Anyway, he was on the way to the prison, and near Lhasa there is a small mountain, not really small, quite big, mountain called Gambala. If there are any Tibetans here, they would know. There's a song which is written by the Sixth Dalai Lama. And when they reach that peak, he's being, his hands cuffed, and, there's the soldiers with him. So I guess the soldiers need to pee or something, so there was a little bit of a pause on the peak. Then he faced towards Lhasa, Potala, that's where he stays. Now, Sixth Dalai Lama, as you may know, he's very known for being quite a lot mischievous. Lots and lots of lovers. And Tibetans are very strange. In one hand, the Tibetans are so into this sort of do the right thing, the discipline, all of that. The Dalai Lama has to be a monk, etc. On the other hand, wherever the Dalai Lamas visit these girls, their houses are being painted yellow as like a veneration. Anyway, on the peak, he composed a song. This is so beautiful. Well, in the song, we never know what he's talking about, okay? So he's a very big-time poet. So we don't really know to whom he's referring to. He's sort of referring to, this Palden Lhamo. Palden Lhamo is also a girl's name in one way. The glorious goddess, could be one of his lovers. But this is also the name of Mahakali. So we don't know who he's talking about. But what I want to tell you is, he says his mind, of course his handcuffed, he is not free. So he said, my mind, that free mind, is traveling through the valleys and mountains and now going to meet this Palden Lama. And then he said, but the traveling doesn't stop. You see, he's a little mischievous like this. It's not like your usual lover. You meet and then you stay there, right? He says he keeps on going to the valleys and the mountains of the whole samsara. And then he meets all these other Palden Lama. So basically, here I'm talking about genuine heart of sadness. I think the bodhisattvas, they pray to always have the bird's eye view of not just this life, but the whole life. So I guess you feel so, like, I don't know, sort of a, not really pity to yourself, but some sort of a sadness. I mean, how would you feel if when you, in your bird's eye view, you suddenly see once upon a time when you were this lobster that's about to be fried. You understand? So you feel this, like when you have the bird's eye view of not just this life. Of course, even just this life, if you think about from the childhood till now, I'm sure you will have a lot of sentimental feelings. That's why we go to psychiatrists, to express your sentiment, isn't it? So this is one prayer Bodhisattva is supposed to pray. May I have the ability to may I be able to have this remembrance or bird's eye view of my entire existence, not just this life. Because through that, yes, you'll feel happy, you'll feel sad, but happy also with a tinge of sadness because you think, oh gosh, why did I do that? How silly I was, so on and so forth. May I always have the renunciation mind. May I always want to emulate the Tathagatas. May I always look up to the Tathagatas. This is again explained in the many sutras. Supposedly, our Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, first ever time he got inspired. There's several stories on this one. One incident is when he got so tired of someone's ego, just so exhausted with someone's pride and the ego, don't know what to do. But just a few days later, he encountered, I think it was Kashyapa, one who has no ego. And he was so attracted to this, sort of egoless being. He finds it just so attractive, and he says, I want to be like you. So that's what we are talking here. May I always be attracted to egolessness or egoless person, or may I always be attracted to these beings who have the Tathagata quality. May I always be perfect. May I always apply the perfect conduct in order to acquire, maintain the Tathagata qualities. Okay, I think we'll stop here. Maybe about 5 questions if you have. Okay.
Hi, Rinpoche. Thank you. My question, I think you already answered, but I still want to ask it for. It's about aspiration. How could we have aspiration? Like, it's because we are able to, because of the free will we have, or because of karma?
It's very good.
Yeah.
Are you coming back tomorrow?
Yes, I will.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Can I answer this? Because this is a big one.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. You are enlightened already. Can
Me?
you. You.
No. Okay.
And can you
anyway.
show me now?
Well, if I can show this, I would have shown it even like right from the beginning. That's it.
This question, some words probably need some translations, so I will use Chinese.
So when I read Buddhist sutra or stories, I get touched a lot. For example, people cutting off their flesh to feed dying moms or kids. And this kind of magic with not seeing the world much. And is it because we don't aspire enough?
I think so. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much for your teachings, Rinpoche. Hopefully not too stupid of a question, but how do you manage expectations with aspiration? How do you keep yourself from getting disappointed and losing that aspiration by virtue of just losing hope?
Okay, very easy answer for this one. I mean, there's a difficult answer, but the easy one is better, I think. Make it infinite.
How?
May all be enlightened. That's better than may 10 people get enlightenment. Then you have a problem. Even if you finish 9th, you still have a problem.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Rinpoche, shall we go to online?
Yes,
You take
please.
an online question? We have many online questions, but here's one. What is enlightenment? Is it the same as omniscience? How does one know she is enlightened or on the right track?
What is enlightenment? Yeah, the word enlightenment is not so good. When you see the truth, I would say, for now, when you see complete truth, when you realize when you are dreaming, and when you realize you are dreaming, there's a little bit of a enlightenment. Okay?
Thank you, Rinpoche, for your teachings. You spoke about the power of aspiration, and you also, not today, speak about the horrors of colonialism and how that affects the world. Is aspiration enough as Buddhists to combat colonialism and these horrors that people wreak, or are there other things we should be doing?
My master have always told me that aspiration is the best thing, but we get so distracted by doing other things because we think that we can do something, because we have this habit of fixing things. Okay.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Hello, Rinpoche. Thank you for the lesson. On the topic of happiness, what do you think are necessary conditions for one being happy, such as freedom, or love, or money, or career, or romance, etc.? Which do you think are necessary for one to be happy?
Well, Shantadeva, according to the Shantadeva, I don't think this answer is going to satisfy you, but anyway, I will give you. This is actually Buddhist sort of definition of happiness and unhappiness. When you are free from cause and conditions, then you are happy. Not just when you are free from somebody. That's just already gross cause and condition. Even small conditions, if you are free. I think this encapsulates quite well. And the opposite is the suffering. So, I want a dark roast for my coffee. I hate medium roast. There you are, beginning to be unhappy already. Dark, medium, light, who cares? You are already happy. So something like along that line. You understand?
A little bit.
Okay.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Anyway, this is a classic Buddhist answer. And it's a relative answer, by the way. Because also it's very, very dependent on different beings. For some, whip is pain. For others, it's an excitement. Right? Okay.
Rinpoche, during your talk today, it feels like you're talking about the game of cause and effect, as if it's a bit of a, what's the word I'm thinking of? Well, it's a game. But when the story you gave about the thief and a horse and how he slit open his stomach and the baby came out, would that not be an example of a wrong aspiration, wrong action, creating the cause and effect for a right outcome?
No, I think the story is more like you are aspiring. No matter what you do, may it somehow, one way or another, lead you to good things. You understand? Because of your old habit, you may end up doing wrong things. It's not like you are not aspiring to kill many horses. Yeah. Okay, put it this way. If he hasn't aspired that, the chances of him killing more horse is big. But because of that, actually there is even, I think he has even songs. He said that horse, mother horse and the baby horse has to be his guru's manifestation, because if not for those two, that I think he has a lot of writings about this. Okay. I don't know whether we can finish all, but if you are coming back, you can still ask some of, maybe few, Can you?
Hi, Rinpoche, thank you for your teaching. My question is if we don't have to apologize, how can we do the confession? How do we feel when we do it?
I think we are talking about different kinds of apology. Of course, if you have done something wrong, I guess you should. Yes. I think we were talking about, what were we talking about? I forgot. I will try to think about it and tell you. Okay. It's a big one, actually. This is a big one. On apology,
Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche. It's very nice to meet you. I first read your book 12 years ago when I was in Tibet, so this feels like a very surreal experience. But I'm not chasing like a star, but you're my star. I have a quick question. You explained that with your examples, I think I learned lessons that every moment counts. That kind of explains how we can go through these mundane lives. And you also mentioned in your book that with all those good thoughts or those experiences we can have, it doesn't really. With the Buddha in our heart doesn't mean that we have to cancel out the day-to-day life. But some people are saying that the reason why we are going through all those lives is just to have this experience the cause and effect. So do you agree with that, or do you have any other thoughts on that?
Generally, the whole point of so-called Dharma practice, like a vipassana, is to disrupt the order of cause, condition, and effect. famous Chandrakirti's quotation. If you are idiot, you will do bad things and go to hell. If you are idiot, you will do good things and go to heaven. Only if you are wise, you will go beyond good and bad and be liberated.
Dear Rinpoche, please lead us reciting the 7-line prayer to Guru Rinpoche. Thank you.
Okay, I will do it right before we end. Okay.
There's something that I just wanted to share, which I think is an example of what you were saying about that confidence that as soon as the aspiration is made, it's already done. So I saw this video many, many years ago of these Japanese healers. And this was set up with one of these cameras that was focused inside the body on the tumor. And they were chanting. And you could see on the camera, you could see this tumor actually shrinking, right? And they just kept chanting the same thing in Japanese again and again. And what they were chanting was already done. They weren't watching the video. It was just happening.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. From online? Yes. The phrase, may I, implies an external force. But in Tibetan is the word aspiration, emphasizing the power of the one making the aspiration, or to internal or external Buddha or Guru for help.
Yeah, I need to tell you, the Guru has no business in this. Guru is a tantric stuff. This is a Mahayana. But Tantrika can use this prayer. They do. And this I, may I, this I will, I think, as you pray and pray, it will mute it. Okay, one more. Do you have?
How do we make genuine and grand aspirations, but without any hope and fear of results?
I think I've already explained this. If you do infinite aim, I think it's a really good way. Yeah, but this is this question is important, and answer is the whole discussions we have been having this afternoon.
Do enlightened beings ever know for themselves that they're enlightened?
Can you explain that?
The more I practice, the more it seems that I am learning I don't know things more than I know things. And it's made me wonder, do enlightened beings know that they're enlightened? Or do they, because it's the absence of ego, right? It's the absence of self.
Very good.
So how do they recognize that they themselves aren't there anymore?
First, you mean more you study what, in general, or the Buddhist
Just the more I practice, just the more I meditate.
But that I would encourage you to keep that kind of mental factor. I think it's good for you.
Okay.
And
okay.
wait. But as for the enlightened being, do they know they are enlightened? Well, it's a very tricky question. It requires tricky answer. It's like they have never been a sentient being ever. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
My question is that I make aspirations and dedications every night. Sometimes they're emotional and genuine, sometimes they're not. And does it still make it meaningful?
Of course, very much. Even though you are doing it out of obligation, it's good. Actually, this is important. This is what the Samantabhadra is. This is his aspiration, that as long as someone even remotely interested in this, even flip through first page, he will just finish the rest, so to speak. I've always wondered, why the people always prefer and make Manjushri statue, Avalokiteshvara statue. Hardly we see Samantabhadra. It's kind of interesting. Okay. Please.
Thank you so much for the speech. And me and my friends, we have a group studying your book, What Makes You Not a Buddhist? And we've been studying the first few chapters, and we realize how hard it is to understand the wisdom. And because after hearing the speech today, I realized that we need to aspire to, for all beings to be enlightened after reading your book, not just for our group. So I'm wondering if I could stand here to request you as with a prayer for all the people who are reading your book to understand the wisdom and be enlightened.
Thank you. Thank you, and I will also pray that I will not write so complicated. No, actually, one of the Buddha's qualities, he has 10 qualities, many qualities. One of them is this. He can talk to a baby, 3 years old, about shunyata, and the baby will understand. Us talking to a baby about shunyata is just impossible. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Rinpoche. In a couple of sentences, what would you suggest to say if the healthcare authorities wishes to include intention setting or aspirations in their daily work when helping patients?
I think you should actually that's important. I would suggest you to weekly do this aspiration once. Just finish the whole aspiration once. At least once a week. Okay, so today I will end this with, because there was a request from a lady for me reciting 7-line prayer. And I'm doing this 7-line prayer now. Okay, today is a Dakinis day. So I'm going to recite offering of feast to the Dakinis. I have nothing prepared. I will offer some flowers to all the Dakinis. Okay.